or someone is holding those two flags.
Let's talk about the Pope briefly in terms of his travels. He's been the Pope since '78, correct? He came to the U.S. in '79, his first trip. Oh, they're waving now and they're excited.
They're excited.
Let's just talk about his frequent flyer miles. My understanding is, honestly, David, I figured this out, 500,000 at least with the amount of trips that he's taken to 100 different countries, more than 50 trips in the amount of years that he's been Pope.
That's the reason he has a plane that's configured the way it is. He has enough miles and power to do so. Quite seriously, these young people are very excited. A few moments ago, a member of the official staff here came out and made an announcement asking people please not to stand on these seats. I think not because they were afraid they would damage the seats, but because they were afraid someone might slip and fall, particularly since they're a little wet.
I notice everyone's not listening.
No, yeah, they're not paying quite that much attention to them. What an exciting, historic moment to see this plane slowly making its way here, knowing that inside is the head of the Roman Catholic Church, the man who basically represents close to 1 billion Catholics worldwide.
And we can talk
Most
about
agree, some don't.
That's right, and the population here, of course, is 500,000 for Colorado, only about 330,000 for the Denver metropolitan area. However, the Pope picked Denver. He handpicked Denver for World Youth Day, which obviously we know is a monumental event.
Bill, if you're looking at this, if you can see now, there is a little safety opening there above the captain's cabin.
Especially for flags.
Yeah, especially for flags. Obviously, that pilot's arms aren't that long to hold those flags in the air, so you did have some help. There are 51 journalists on board.
And you will see them first. They will come out of the rear of the plane, I'm told, and they will head down there, and the members of the papal party of 32 will also exit the aircraft. The journalists will be escorted to the appropriate positions by a member of the World Youth Day press office, and then I think we'll start getting the greeting line all set up.
Taxiing just behind the Pope's plane now is Marine One. There are 4 other Marine helicopters that are lined up just to the north of the papal jet, and those will be used by the Pope's entourage to take the Pope and those who will be traveling with him to Regis University. Marine One and at least two other Marine helicopters are now pulling into place as well. The President, as you mentioned earlier, and his wife and Chelsea will fly in a separate helicopter to Regis University.
And there will be a red carpet this time, David. At least that's what it says right here. That'll
red carpet and yellow carpets. We know.
You know, let's talk about his U.S. trips if we can for just a moment. It's interesting. My father is a big fan of the Pope. He saved from 1979 the Time magazine, the Newsweek magazine, and I got to take a look at those. I happened to bring one with me. John Paul Superstar, Time magazine, 1979. Back then, same idea. He would come, go through the cities, love the children, pick up children, hug them. Obviously, the security is a little bit different now, but this is the same man, a little tired, obviously older, and he's been through some health problems with the assassination attempt and more. But this is a man who loves children. He's here for the hope of the youth of America and all countries around the world, and also to talk about peace.
President and Mrs. Clinton and Chelsea on their way out to greet the Pope. You know, it's interesting, you talk about the last trip when he was here. You have the Time magazine referenced as Superstar. The crowds on this trip, as well as the crowds anticipated in Denver, are very large, very enthusiastic, and very happy to be here. But the speculation is the people aren't quite as enthused, and there aren't quite as many people on this papal trip as we saw a few years ago.
Very divisive issues, obviously.
Very divisive issues. Plus, a few years ago, he was making more than one stop in this country. He was in Miami. He was also in Phoenix, I believe, and Detroit. Here, this, of course, is his only stop in the United States.
So we've had to bring people in, as we talked earlier. The Transportation Secretary, Mayor Federico Pena, came in, Donna Shalala, Health and Human Services Secretary, a lot of dignitaries, as well as 170,000 young people from 70 countries. Oh, the door is opening. The Cardinals are all, oh, here comes the cheer from the crowd.
You are looking just inside the door. Many of these people we're not going to recognize at first.
Obviously, people here waiting anxiously. Every once in a while, you hear a cheer. The military band in place, an Air Force band ready to play.
This is a very diverse crowd, too. There are young and old here. I just spotted a toddler being held by one of the pilgrims. I forgot the country this young man is from, but I saw him earlier holding a little, what would you say she is, Kathy?
Oh,
18 months, 18, 20 months?
Exactly, I would think.
She obviously doesn't know the significance of what she is witnessing today, but she knows that something is special. You can see her smiling.
And she'll be reminded, I'm sure, in the years to come.
And, of course, hundreds of young people here, but there are several not-so-young people in this crowd as well.
I understand the organizer of the papal visit will be the first person to exit the plane.
And one of those waiting just at the foot of the jetway is the Vatican ambassador, former Boston Mayor Ray Flynn.
That's right. We're going to have the U.S. protocol officer we talked about. And I'm imagining that is the woman at the bottom of the stairs in the navy blue suit. Wouldn't you say so, David?
I think you're right.
Okay, Molly Reiser.
I see her. And then as we're looking at the line as it is now officially formed, following the president, I'm not sure the president's on that side, but I see Governor Omer, Mayor Webb.
That's right.
I believe from this distance, possibly Archbishop.
Here comes a cheer as the dignitaries get off the plane, preceding the Pope. I imagine that gentleman with the camera is probably a very official member of the Pope's party, huh?
I would think so.
Because I know that the other journalists had to get off from the other end. We won't be seeing much of those. At least we won't be focused on them.
Sort of like the protocol with Air Force One. The journalists that travel with the president exit the rear of the plane.
There's the president.
What you're seeing now on your screen in the lower right-hand corner, of course, is what's happening live here at Stapleton. The larger picture in the upper left-hand corner is from Celebration Plaza. There's a huge, giant video screen there. So those young people, the thousands there. What's it called again?
Jumbotron.
Jumbotron.
Mm-hmm.
They're watching as they see this historical moment happen as it is happening, and are not waiting to have to either see it on the news later or have one of their friends tell them what they missed during the day.
That's right. Only about, I'd say 300 to 500 members of the World Youth Day gathering could come here. And they were selected, I'm told, through their parishes. But what's so funny is the two Lithuanian people that we just spoke with a while ago, I said, how did you get chosen? They said, well, we had our Lithuanian flag, we held it up and started to wave it, and somebody said, hey, you want to go to the airport and see the Pope? And sure enough, here they are. So they're very excited.
Another one of those wonderful examples of how so many people, so many young people from other countries are experiencing the joys, some very simple joys that happen basically only in this country.
That's
Margaret
right.
Falber, one of our correspondents, talks so much about the freedom, not only the freedoms that we enjoy politically in this country, but the freedom to do what you want to do, to come and see the Pope, to talk with your bishops very openly, to pray anywhere, anytime.
Well, and you heard from the young Lithuanian man saying thank you. That's what he thought when he saw President Clinton get off the plane. Thank you, all of you people from the United States, for what you've done for our country, for our freedom, newfound freedom.
Well, it was good to be reminded of that, too. You know, in our business, so many stories come and go so very quickly. We don't forget the importance and the significance, but we move on to other things, such as this visit by two heads of state, and we may gloss over the significance of what some of these people are experiencing just because of the histories of their country and what the leaders of this country have provided for them.
Exactly. Now you get a good shot of the crowd waiting patiently.
No umbrellas up here, except for well, I see one.
Oh, nobody cares about the rain today, David.
Except media people.
We don't like to get wet, do we? Or cold.
Red carpet is rolled out. The Cardinals are in place.
I can see Ron Brown in that receiving line as well. And you know, I think I saw former Mayor Federico Pena up there, but
Chief of Protocol.
That's right, Mary Racer.
And there is the Pope.
Pope John Paul II. And the cheer goes up in the crowd. What a moment. And a wave from the Pope.
Certainly a historic moment here in Denver, Colorado, the arrival of Pope John Paul II. Interestingly enough, we've got a small crowd of people here at Mile High Stadium looking at our television monitor and getting their first glimpse of Pope John Paul II as he arrives in Denver. He'll be over here later tonight.
And what a picture there.
You notice when he stepped off the plane, he did not kiss the ground as we have seen him do in so many other countries. For those of you who might not know, that's because he has visited this country before. Only when he visits a country for the first time does he stop and kiss the ground.
And that's to bless the country.
Yes.
He has visited this country before, but he has never visited this region before. One of the reasons we understand he chose Denver for World Youth Day 1993. What a wonderful picture we are looking at right now. Pope John Paul II talking with President Clinton, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
And we're told they'll both have some opening remarks here from Mile High Stadium before they get on their separate helicopters and head off to Regis University. There's
How about
Governor
that
Romer.
picture, Bill?
Yeah.
Governor Romer and the Pope.
Kathy and David, what are your understandings of what the Pope will say there at Stapleton before he gets on his helicopter?
We'll talk about that in just a second, but we wanted to just talk about the Pope now greeting Ray Flynn.
Former mayor of Boston, just recently appointed as ambassador to the Vatican, position that he said he cherished and he knew would be much tougher, although more enjoyable, as serving as the mayor of Boston. Now shaking hands with Secretary of Commerce Ron Brown. Donna Shalala, and right. To her left is former Denver mayor and now current Transportation Secretary Federico Pena.
That's right. These are people who, no matter what their position in government, you have to say today, David, they are thrilled to be there on that receiving line.
Bill, you asked a moment ago what we thought if we knew the Pope was going to be talking about in his opening remarks here in Denver. I'm not real sure. I've got to think that because his message has been of peace and urging young people all over the world not to take what he called the easy way, I would be very surprised if he doesn't at least touch on that in these opening remarks that are supposed to last about 10 minutes.
Well, that seems to be the theme of the trip. He's repeated those words in both Kingston, Jamaica, and Merida, Mexico last night. No need to believe that he will change his message once he gets to Mile High Stadium in Denver tonight and Cherry Creek Reservoir Sunday.
And Bill, you just saw him greet Representative Pat Schroeder and Mayor Wellington Webb, and now Archbishop J. Francis Stafford, who is beside himself, having had a lot to do with bringing the Pope here. That is wonderful for him, and everyone says that we will soon be calling him Cardinal, but I think he's keeping his fingers crossed.
Look at the smile.
The smile on Archbishop
it seems like he's been smiling, Bill and Amy and Kathy, since the announcement was made that the Pope had chosen Denver. Instead of frowning, knowing that he would be faced with such a formidable task of organizing this, he is still very happy.
That was just Archbishop William Keeler, age 62, and now he was appointed Archbishop April 11th, 1989 by the Pope, Archbishop of Baltimore.
What do you think you actually say to the Pope as you're greeting him and telling him welcome to your city? I asked the Archbishop that question last week, and he said, you say welcome to Denver.
It's wonderful to have you here.
Right, right. I would think, though, that makes your palms a little sweaty right before you shake hands with the Pope.
At the same time, these are people who have met the Pope before, at least the people that he's talking with now. These are people, I would presume, for the most part, who were appointed by Pope John Paul II. People who support him very strongly, are very committed to his positions within the church. They are, again, greeting an old friend.
David, for people, David and Kathy, for people who just joined us in the past couple of minutes, you talked about the seating arrangements out at Stapleton Airport, and they were very interesting. Not to slight anyone, either the president or the Pope.
That's right. We're hearing that it was the president who wanted them changed.
Yes, you'll see this coming up once all of the dignitaries make their way to the podium and the seating arrangement that's been established. We were told by a representative of the mayor's office that one arrangement had been gathered, had been put together, and that either the president or someone on the president's staff nixed that. And what you will see is on one side, as the Pope is speaking, if you can picture this, on one side you will see the president, Mrs. Clinton, and Chelsea, and that's it.
Well, the problem was, apparently, at least this is what we're hearing once again, the Pope didn't feel like he was getting...
The president.
That's right. The president, that is, excuse me. And he wasn't getting top billing, or at least billing near the top. He wanted to stand out from the rest of the people on the podium.
And so then to the other side, of course, will be all the bishops and cardinals, archbishops that will be gathered to hear the opening opening remarks from both the Pope and the President. Of course, those remarks will be preceded by the national anthems of both this country and the official Vatican anthem.
David, will you look there? Right behind the Pope, you can every once in a while see Chelsea Clinton. Do you wonder what's going through her mind right now? Do you think it's, boy, I'd like to be out with those 170,000 young people as opposed to up here, or something else?
Kathy, I was just thinking the very thing. There is the Pope, there are all those cardinals around him, and then there's Chelsea.
She's a lucky girl.
What an
It's a very
extraordinary
difficult position she's in, as everyone knows. She's got a lot of media attention. That's not always easy for somebody her age. But boy, she will never, ever forget these things.
Well, I can tell you, as a father of both a 14 and a 12-year-old daughter, the position that she's in, just trying to grow up, feeling great one day and the next day wondering what all of this is about. I think she's doing a great job of handling herself very well.
The Pope is now approaching the podium with a wave of the crowd and flags, waving a lot of colors.
The Pope looks very, very good, I think. You know, we've talked a little bit about how healthy he seems now, and there's a tan on his face and certainly that smile, but he just seems, you know, strong and healthy.
The President helping the Pope, the two top heads of state, in a way, we could say. The President, obviously, the head of the United States, the Pope, the head of Roman Catholics throughout the world.
Let's just enjoy this crowd, and if you can get you at home can get a bit of a feel of what those are feeling here.
I can see some people trying to hand the Pope flowers. They're not allowed to get too close, but he's obviously acknowledging as many people as he can with his warm smile, and especially for the young people.
You know, I've got to say, I think he looks great. He looked almost sunburned a little bit yesterday after spending time in the tropics and tired with the heat and the humidity of the Caribbean, as you can expect. Today, he looks as peaceful and rested and gentle and firm as he has for the past 15 years that we have known this man. He began his ascent to the papacy in Poland.
Isn't it interesting to see his gestures? It's something that you always see on television. For us to be standing right here, it's really something else to see this man in person.
The Pope's certainly the center of attention out at Stapleton Airport today. You can see President Clinton behind him with this big smile on his face, like he's just met someone he wanted to meet for a long time. Suzanne McCarroll said something interesting from Celebration Plaza about 45 minutes ago. She was talking to some of the young people there about the Pope coming to Denver, and the person said, well, yeah, that guy from Washington's also coming.
There aren't many times when the President of the United States plays second fiddle, are there?
Let's pause now for the national anthem.
Lightning just to the south, on the other side of McNichols, several bolts that come in if you want to hear.
The President. That's right, there are some people singing happy birthday to the President. His birthday is next week, and then on the other side, people chanting for the Pope. Young people waiting, a crucifix in the crowd.
The Pope looked also, just for a moment, almost just a touch embarrassed.
He doesn't think his mic's working.
Your Holiness. Let me see if I can make it work. See if I can get a little closer. Can you hear? Not working.
You can hear me on the front row.
PA's out. Yep, we hear him in here just fine.
Now? No?
Ready, 2. Take 2.
How about that? Now can you hear? Go for it. I'll speak to you. You can say it to them, right?
Somebody should tell him the world can hear.
Can you hear in the back? No. How about that? No.
Have a cameraman give him a thumbs up.
Give him a thumbs up. 1 and 2 if you can.
Go on. Well, I'm going to speak, and I'll do the best I can. How's that?
Ready, 1. Take 1.
Your Holiness, I think you can see from the wonderful reception you have received that the United States is honored to have
Ready, 3.
in Denver. I thank you for coming to Denver. To this historic gathering of young people from across the world. I want to extend a special thanks to the co-sponsors of National World Youth Day, Archbishop Keeler and the National Catholic Bishops. I'm especially gratified that so many leading Catholic Americans could join us today. And I'd like to pay special tribute to one, my good friend, the former mayor of Boston and our ambassador to the Vatican, Ray Flynn. I also thank my friends Governor Roy Romer, Mayor Wellington Webb, the members of the City Council, and Congresswoman Patricia Schroeder, in whose district we now stand or sit, as the case may be. I want to thank the people of Denver who have opened their hearts and their homes to these young people and say a few words of appreciation, Holy Father, to American Catholics especially. As the Catholic Church prepares to enter its 3rd millennium, our nation prepares to enter its 3rd century. It is altogether fitting that such a young country would host World Youth Day. America has maintained its youth by always being able to change while holding fast to its fundamental values. A determination to support family and work, to the proposition that all children matter and we don't have a one to waste, to the proposition that in every corner of the world, race or creed should not deter any young boy or girl from growing up to the fullest of their God-given capacities. Your Holiness, even though I am not myself a Roman Catholic, I was educated as a young boy by nuns and as a young man by Jesuit priests. And I might add, since we're in the business of paying compliments, I appointed a man born in Poland to be chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff yesterday. But all Americans, without regard to their religious affiliation, are grateful to the Catholics of this country for the standards they have set for citizenship and service, for supporting their families and working well at their assigned tasks, and for caring about the less fortunate. And all Americans without regard to their religious faith are grateful to you, Your Holiness, for your moral leadership. For we know that you were the force to light the spark of freedom over communism in your native Poland and throughout Eastern Europe. That you have been an advocate for peace and justice among nations and peoples, a strong voice calling for an end to hatred and to hunger everywhere, and reminding people blessed with abundance that they must offer special comfort to the poor and the dispossessed. Your presence here is welcome. America is a better, stronger, more just nation because of the influence that you have had on our world in recent years and because of the influence that American Catholics have had on our nation from the very beginning of our birth. If we were to find one sentence that would sum up the Catholic social mission, the work that Catholics have done as citizens, it would be the great line from our only Catholic president's inaugural speech when President Kennedy said, "We must always remember that here on earth, God's work must be our own." In 1987, Your Holiness, when you came to Detroit, you said that each of us must be instrumental in promoting a social order that respects the dignity of persons and serves the common good. That is what we must all be about. America today is striving to achieve that goal. We have many problems here, and we are trying to address many problems abroad. We dare not turn away from our obligations to one another. Your presence here today will remind us all of those obligations, of the values by which you have lived, of the causes for which you have worked. I ask you now to come to this platform to welcome a grateful nation and many tens of thousands of young people from all across the world who are privileged to be in your presence here today.
Mr. President, dear friends, dear people of America, dear young people, you have really strong voices. Mr. President, I greatly appreciate your generous words of welcome. The World Youth Day, being celebrated this year in Denver, gives me the opportunity to meet you and through you to express once again to the American people my sentiments of deep esteem and friendship. I thank you and Mrs. Clinton for your kind gesture in coming here personally to welcome me, in coming together with your daughter. I take this opportunity to greet the other representatives of the federal government, of the state of Colorado, and of the city of Denver who are present here, and to thank all those who have contributed in any way to preparing this visit. I am grateful to the bishops of the United States for their part in organizing the 8th World Youth Day, and in particular to Archbishop Stafford of Denver and the Catholic Church in Colorado for serving as the local hosts for this important international event. I am aware that the United States is suffering greatly from the recent flooding in the Midwest. I have felt close to the American people in their tragedy and have prayed for the victims. I invoke Almighty God's strength and comfort upon all who have been affected by this calamity. There is a special joy in coming to America for the celebration of this World Youth Day. A nation which is itself still young. What is 200 years for a nation? A nation which is itself still young, according to historical standards, is hosting young people gathered from all over the world for a serious reflection on the theme of life, the human life, which is God's marvelous gift to each one of us, and the transcendent life which Jesus Christ, our Savior, offers to those who believe in His name. I come to Denver to listen to the young people gathered here, to experience their inexhaustible quest for life. Each successive World Youth Day has been a confirmation of young people's openness to the meaning of life as a gift received, a gift to which they are eager to respond by striving for a better world for themselves and their fellow human beings. I believe that we would correctly interpret their deepest aspirations by saying that what they ask is that society, especially the leaders of nations and all who control the destinies of peoples, accept them as true partners in the construction of a more human, more just, more compassionate world. They ask to be able to contribute their specific ideas and energies to this task. The well-being of the world's children and young people must be an immense concern to all who have public responsibilities. In my pastoral visits to the church in every part of the world, I have been deeply moved by the almost universal conditions of difficulty in which young people grow up and live. Too many sufferings are visited upon them by natural calamities, famines, epidemics, by economic and political crisis, by the atrocities of wars. And where material conditions are at least adequate, other obstacles arise, not the last of which is the breakdown of family values and stability. In developed countries, a serious moral crisis is already affecting the lives of many young people, leaving them adrift, often without hope, and conditioned to look only for instant gratification. Yet everywhere there are young men and women deeply concerned about the world around them, ready to give the best of themselves in service to others, and particularly sensitive to life's transcendent meaning. But how do we help them? How do we help them? Only by instilling a high moral vision can a society ensure that its young people are given the possibility to mature as free and intelligent human beings, endowed with a robust sense of responsibility to the common good, capable of working with others to create a community and a nation with a strong moral fiber. America was built on such a vision, and the American people possess the intelligence and will to meet the challenge of rededicating themselves with renewed vigor to fostering the truths on which this country was founded and by which it grew. Those truths are enshrined in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, and they still today receive a broad consensus among Americans. Those truths sustain values which have led people all over the world to look to America with hope and respect. To all Americans, without exception, I present this invitation. Let us pause and reason together. To educate without a value system based on truth is to abandon young people to moral confusion, personal insecurity, and easy manipulation. No country, not even the most powerful, can endure if it deprives its own children of this essential good, respect. You are crying for that what the Pope says, or against? Respect for the dignity and worth of every person, integrity and responsibility, as well as understanding, compassion, and solidarity towards others, survive only if they are passed on in families, in schools, and through the communications media. America has a strong tradition of respect for the individual, for human dignity and human rights. I gladly acknowledge this during my previous visit to the United States in 1987, and I would like to repeat today the hope I expressed on that occasion. America, you are beautiful. Beautiful and blessed in so many ways. But your best beauty and your richest blessing is found in the human person. In each man, woman, and child, in every immigrant, in every native-born son or daughter, the ultimate test of your greatness is the way you treat every human being, but especially the weakest and most defenseless ones. The best traditions of your land presume respect for those who cannot defend themselves. If you want equal justice for all and true freedom and lasting peace, then America, defend life. All the great causes that are yours today will have meaning only to the extent that you guarantee the right to life and protect the human person. It has been said in Detroit, September 19th, 1987. Mr. President, my reference to the moral truth which sustain the life and the nation is not without relevance to the privileged position which the United States holds in the international community. In the face of tensions and conflicts that too many peoples have endured for so long, I am thinking in particular of the Middle East region, some African countries, and in the new situation emerging from the events of 1989, especially in view of the tragic conflicts now going on in the Balkans and in the Caucasus. The international community ought to establish more effective structures for maintaining and promoting justice and peace. This implies that a concept of strategic interest should evolve, which is based on the full development of peoples out of poverty and towards a more dignified existence, out of injustice and exploitation, towards fuller respect for the human person and the defense of universal human rights. If the United Nations and other international agencies through the wise and honest cooperation of their member nations, succeed in effectively defending stricken populations, whether victims of underdevelopment or conflicts or the massive violation of human rights, then there is indeed hope for the future. For peace is the work of justice. The bounty and providence of God have laid an enormous responsibility on the people and government of the United States. But that burden is also the opportunity for true greatness. Together with millions of people around the globe, I share the profound hope that in the present international situations, the United States will spare no effort in advancing authentic freedom and in fostering human rights and solidarity. May God guide this nation and keep alive in it for endless generations to come the flame of liberty and justice for all. May God bless you all. God bless America. America, I express my gratitude to you for this receiving me with rain.
Pope John Paul II, President Clinton, greeting more of the crowd now. The Pope did primarily what we anticipated that he would do. He addressed needs of young people, but he also did not shy away from what have been termed controversial positions within the church.
My understanding is that right now he just received a bouquet of columbine, the state flower of the state of Colorado, and my understanding is that a lot of people think that the petals resemble doves, and of course that is a symbol of peace.
You know, and the Pope is finished, and the rain has just about finished as well. Interesting watching the politics that took place there. The Pope received a standing ovation from the young people when he talked about protecting life, an obvious reference to the abortion issue.
Exactly.
President Clinton applauded the Pope from time to time during the speech, but with any reference to the Roman Catholic Church's position where abortion is concerned, the president kept his hands folded during that speech. A longer speech than many
David,
of us
I suspect that was a rather difficult moment for the president as he stood next to and slightly behind the Pope, and the Pope, in effect, lectured him on the abortion issue.
But it certainly had to be one he expected.
Yeah, but I agree, and I was thinking that exact thought when I watched that. Watch Bill Clinton's body language at times. You'll notice the clenched jaw. You'll notice a stern look. You'll notice a person who listens. And in this case, of course, it's the first time in a long time that President Bill Clinton has had to listen on an issue without an opportunity to immediately respond.
Well, it may have been an uncomfortable time for the president because he got the bad microphones at the beginning of the welcoming ceremony and had to stand there, looked embarrassed for about 2 or 3 minutes while we heard the television audience was hearing the microphones. The PA system there at the airport wasn't working, and then the lecture from the Pope about abortion. So,
Bill, you don't think there'll be an advanced person talk to him about that, do you?
I suspect that there's some some trouble.
Bill, back on the abortion issue, though, don't you think that the president had to be prepared for that sort of thing? And obviously, he may have looked uncomfortable, but he handled it the only way he could.
And certainly he's not showing any discomfort at this very moment. That the look on President Clinton's face is that he's thoroughly enjoying every moment of this.
You know, the Pope also, as he always does when he travels from country to country, very open in talking about human rights as defined by the vast majority of the free world, very open about encouraging people to be involved, and so dedicated to young people in the world as he truly recognizes youth as future and hope, and talked about the hope.
It's interesting. He laid the burden on the media. Several times he's done that now on his trip, saying, you know, we need integrity, and you members of the media need to think about that.
He also was very free in saying that it is not an easy time to be a young person, that this is not an easy time to grow up, but that you have to be steadfast in your courage and go against the way of the others sometimes.
Tell me if I'm mistaken, David and Kathy, but everything seems to be running way behind schedule.
I think the Pope went a little bit longer than people thought he would, especially in this rainfall, but he was quite jovial about it, as you could hear him at the end, said, thank you very much for sitting here through the rain. I noticed all of the young people stayed, Bill. However, some of the older folks, probably not too old, a few about my age, did wander out and say, I think we've had enough, we're soaked to the skins, maybe we'll go listen on television.
Well, I think David said it quite correctly a little while ago. Only people our age and reporters care about rain. By the way, they've just opened the gates here at Mile High Stadium, and that's running behind schedule. They've been doing that Secret Service sweep, and just this second you heard that cheer go up from Mile High Stadium, where we would guess, and we can only see one side, and people are still streaming in, we would guess there's 75 or 80,000 people just standing around waiting to get in, and they just opened the gates. There are no metal detectors here at Mile High Stadium. You have to have a badge or a pass, whether it's from the church or World Youth Day, or a press pass to get inside.
But there are security people right inside the gate, and they are checking people's bags and that sort of thing too.
Just so you know, what the Pope is doing now is interesting. He was supposed to go along the front row there of VIPs, but what I'm noticing is that the front row has now become almost everybody here. They've all crushed to the front to shake his hand, to say something to him, to kiss his ring.
I think this is something you often see with this Pope too, is that he's very free to delve into the crowd. He's not afraid of that at all.
Especially when it comes to young people, Amy.
That's true.
Well, that's something both the president and the Pope love to do, and it drove the Secret Service crazy during the campaign when Bill Clinton would go out into the crowd and shake hands. And now the Pope is doing the same thing. Of course, this is what might best be described as a very friendly crowd, and they've been well screened and invited. This was not an open to the public event.
Bill, isn't that a telling shot there to see a cowboy hat and skull caps next to each other?
All in one picture.
We've had a lot of interesting pictures today. The Alitalia 747 taxiing in behind Air Force One at Stapleton International Airport. One of the last big events that Stapleton Airport will host before it closes, of course, this winter.
You know, you mentioned a few minutes ago that we were running behind schedule. Interestingly, because we started such ahead of schedule with the president arriving early, the Pope arriving early, now maybe they're trying to get things back on track.
I believe now we're going to go to Suzanne McCarroll, who's been watching this from Celebration Plaza with a lot of other people who are watching on the big screen televisions down there. Suzanne?
Well, Bill, I've got to tell you, we watched it, but we didn't hear it because literally right as the Pope began to speak, the rock band on stage started to warm up. So thousands and thousands and thousands of young people coming from all over the world here to ready to cling to every morsel, the Pope said, and they heard very little. We talked to a group of nuns, asked them what they thought of the speech. They said he looked holy, but they couldn't figure out what he was saying. Let me introduce you to Paul Marquis. You may have met him during our 5 o'clock newscast the last few weeks. He traveled on his own private pilgrimage 3,000 miles from Canada. He decided not to go in an airplane, but to kind of rough it along the road. What, you biked, you bussed?
Biked, bussed, walked, cycled, you name it, and I got here. That's the way it went.
And you came all this way, your own private pilgrimage, and you couldn't wait to hear what the Pope had to say, and you couldn't hear either.
And I couldn't believe that as soon as he started to speak, it was almost the exact same moment the band started up, and yeah, you couldn't hear a thing.
Was it a special moment to get to at least look at him?
Yeah, it was really great to see him. It was seeing him up there, sort of like, yeah, he's here now. That was exciting.
Now, you saw him how many years ago? Back in your youth, I guess.
Yeah, back when I was a teenager. I'm not sure how many years. 10 years ago, something like that.
You're all of what, 25 now?
25, yeah.
And what do you take from that, and what prompted you to come here?
Well, my perspective is very different between then and now, and to come here, I really wanted to make it a pilgrimage, like a real pilgrimage, as he wanted us to get here on a real pilgrimage. I thought that would be the way to go.
Well, you're on your way to Mile High Stadium, as I understand it, so maybe you'll get to hear what he says this time.
Yeah, this time I hope I'll get to hear and see him live. Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much, Paul Marquis. Again, I'd like to tell you what everybody thought of the speech, but we couldn't hear it. But as we said, he looked good. Back to you.
Suzanne, how was the band?
The band was a little shaky because they were warming up. It wasn't even a real song that preempted the Pope.
Suzanne,
well,
yes.
Thanks very much. Look at the Pope making his way now past Air Force One. He'll be moving, or I guess that is the helicopter
one of the
that he'll be getting
helicopters they'll take to Regis University. You can see the heat coming from the engine. Both the President and the Pope will take separate helicopters out to Regis, where they're supposed to meet for about 45 minutes. Of course, the schedules are running a little late. I would guess that they'll make up their time somewhere else, that they'll still meet for their 45 minutes.
The Pope, of course, speaking in English, as he will do most of the time he is here. He is a very scholarly man and well-versed in many languages. That will mean that he does not need an interpreter when he meets with President Clinton for their 45-minute scheduled meeting. So it will be a one-on-one. And we're getting word now that it's partly cloudy there at Regis, but no rain. Certainly.
Well, that's good, because it was raining like crazy at the airport. If the weather's decent at Regis, it's really not too bad here at Mile High Stadium. We're seeing a lot of the clouds, the heavy clouds, move off to the south of us. And that's good news for this crowd expected to be in the neighborhood of 100,000 that is now filing quite cheerfully in a Mile High Stadium now that the security preparations are over with.
Yeah, I have read that the very first World Youth Day in Rome in 1984, there was absolutely a downpour, and that the Pope stood out there through the entire time, and presumably under an umbrella as he was here, but there was no attempt at going inside, and nothing was canceled, and I think we can expect the same here if that indeed does happen.
Well, as President Clinton has entered his helicopter, we suspect the Pope, we saw him just a moment ago entering his helicopter. They'll be heading over for Regis. It's a short flight, so they'll be there in a matter of seconds. We have crews at Regis. We have crews here at Mile High Stadium, at Stapleton Airport, at Celebration Plaza. We have this story covered
from every angle.
From every angle. We were thinking just a minute ago, the Pope is going to fly in after his meeting with the President at Regis University. He'll fly in and land his helicopter in a parking lot between McNichols Arena and Mile High Stadium. That's down at the between the South Stands and McNichols Arena.
Bill
people
and Amy
here will be able to see that.
Bill and Amy, let us interrupt, if we may, just a moment. While you are dry, those of us here at the airport are getting wet again. But before the Pope and the President leave, just to bring everyone up to speed, in case they may have joined us late, the Pope has entered his helicopter. The President is aboard Marine One. We understand it's about a 5-minute max flight, I believe, to Regis University. And they will be meeting for some 45 minutes. And I understand our Renelle Demuse is one of the reporters who's been invited in during the photo opportunity, so she'll at least be able to gauge.
One of 4 local reporters.
Yeah, be able to gauge the mood, how each of us wish we could be in there just to listen to what the two
fly on the wall
will say to each other.
Just so you know, the crowd here is practically gone. It's amazing. We had about 700 people here, and once the Pope and the President made their way away from the crowd where they really couldn't get a view of them, they were smart. They got out of the rain.
You can see the helicopters are revving up. We'll be lifting off momentarily. Been a fabulous afternoon here, even in the rain. As Kathy mentioned a moment ago, I think we saw only two people leave. And for a while, during the Pope's talk, his address to these people, it was raining pretty hard.
That's right. You know, it's interesting, David. I thought about this a lot. The Pope really won some hearts when he addressed the Midwest flood victims. I thought that was very smart on his part. He said, I feel for you, I sympathize with you, and I wish you the best in the future.
He understands catastrophe. This is the man that had to hide in the walls of Take Sanctuary in a very small church in Poland during the end of the Second World War. He knows what it means to be persecuted. He knows what it means to suffer through different types of catastrophe, whether man-made or God-made. By the way, those walls where he hit toward the end of World War II were the same church where he was consecrated as cardinal 30 years later.
He also knows how to push his point home, I think, when he brought up the abortion issue several times and how he is so anti-abortion. And that was when he got the cheers from the crowd. This crowd was definitely with the Pope.
The Marine helicopters are now taxiing here at Stapleton Airport. Once again, we'll be lifting off momentarily for a very short flight to Regis University.
This time we're going to go side by side with you and David and Ken.
Interesting now, we're going through the crowd and we're hearing some of the stories of some of the people in the crowd. I noticed our friends from Lithuania waving their flag, which is how they got here in the first place, and they enjoyed it so much, I'm sure. Once again, beaming. So excited to see the president, the Pope, and be in a free country. And I've also heard that actually the Pope kissed a baby, and we're trying to find that woman right now to talk with her about her reaction to
I wonder if it was that wonderful baby girl that we saw. Maybe, I don't know if it was a baby or a toddler. I know we did see at least that one child.
They've got to hope they've got a photograph of that, huh?
Was holding high into the crowd so she could get a glimpse of the Pope and the president, even though she didn't know exactly what she was seeing. It's something she'll be told about for years to come.
And how about the two young people who were able to hand the Pope the bouquet of columbines, something they will never forget. I'm sure we're checking security clearances now, making sure everybody's...
Then, of course, you had the former Boston mayor, now the ambassador to the Vatican, Ray Flynn, whose duty today was to keep the president dry by holding the umbrella during the speech.
And did you see him and the president when they were leaving, chatting with his arm around him? He looked exuberant. He looked like he was really enjoying himself.
I noticed a couple of times it looked, and of course I wasn't there, so I don't know for sure, but it looked like the mayor was explaining a couple of points that the Pope was trying to make. One time, I don't think the president was annoyed by it, but I think he sort of had a look on his face like, Mr. Ambassador, I get the message. I know what he's saying.
I can hear him. Once again, we're still here at Stapleton Airport, waiting for the helicopters that are taking the Pope and the President and their respective entourages over to Regis University, where they will meet for about 45 minutes. And there will be a photo session, as we like to call that. We've got some students here from New York.
One or two of you, be very careful. It's very slick
we
there.
want you to come up here, but we don't want you to hurt yourselves, okay? You tell us your name, first of all, please.
Maura Jo Lynch.
And where are you from?
New York, Wappingers Falls, about 2 hours outside New York City.
How does it feel to be here in Denver with the Pope and the President?
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I saw the Pope.
How close were you to the Pope?
Well, some people moved. They left when it started raining, so we were about 10 feet away. After they left, we moved up.
How were you chosen?
Well, gee, I don't know. I guess it was kind of divine intervention, so to speak.
Is that right? Explain.
Well, I don't know if I want to give any details, but let's just say God had a hand. Thank you, St. Jude. Thank you, Mary.
You did a lot of praying then, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. We got all the saints in there.
Were you surprised by anything the Pope or the President had to say today?
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was funny that the Pope called himself the Pope at one point. I'm glad that he had a lot to say about the value of human life, though. That is definitely one of the main focuses of World Youth Day. All the youth out here, it's a very important issue. So I'm glad he had something to say about it.
You'll hear more of that throughout the World Youth Day events, don't you think?
Certainly.
Now that you have seen him up close, if you will, if you were to be granted the opportunity to say something to the Pope during these World Youth Day festivities, what do you think it would be?
I don't know. Thanks for being around, I guess. It's just so incredible just to think about it, actually talking to the Pope. I'd probably just get really tongue-tied and be like, hi.
Well, you're doing a fine job now. Being here is great. What will you do when you go back home? What will you take from this?
Oh my gosh, I feel so strong. My friends Margaret and Jim, who are with me, and Daisy Abruzzo and her other son, we are all here together, and we have all just developed this huge, incredible inner strength. And I'm all set to take it back. My boyfriend's just getting back into the faith, and I totally feel like I can help him now. It's amazing.
In just a few days.
Well, welcome to Colorado. Welcome to Denver.
Thank you.
And thanks for sharing with us this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care now.
Exit here, please.
The helicopter is moving out. one of actually the whole line of 4 Marine helicopters are heading out, leaving Stapleton Airport for Regis University.
This is an amazing gathering of military equipment and personnel here. 4 helicopters are being used this afternoon. There are 2 other large Marine helicopters that are warming up, 2 other smaller helicopters off in the distance, sharpshooters on every rooftop in the area, hundreds of military personnel out here for the Pope and the President.
It's interesting, some of the little stories you run into here, Bill and Amy, because I talked with one photographer who is a freelance person. He used to work with us at Channel 4, and he was telling me that he managed to get the job where he gets on the helicopter with the Pope. So he is flying on the helicopter with the Pope. He will be the official photographer to take video of the Pope. And he was beside himself. He said, oh, I hope I do a good job. And this is a man who is a true professional. So it's just so interesting how everybody is so full of this visit.
Kathy, Bill Clinton had taken some heat in the past for closing down the Los Angeles airport. I noticed behind the helicopters, the commercial jets were moving again. And I guess because this event is running behind schedule, they figured they had to reopen the airport.
Yeah, they did. And also, Bill, even on the periphery of the speeches, there were planes taking off, but they were making a very sharp turn to, let's see what the direction would be, to the southeast as soon as they would take off. So they did not fly over this area, but there were several flights taking off. Did not notice any landings necessarily during that time. They may have been on a separate runway.
I don't think things were really closed, so to speak, as we would say, shut down.
All right, David, Kathy, thank you very much for your reports from Stapleton Airport as we watch the President and the Pope take that short flight over Regis University. We'll show you a live picture of where they'll meet. The main hall of Regis University, where the two will get together and discuss world politics for about 45 minutes. That's coming up as soon as they land at Regis. That's the main hall at Regis University. Is carrying President Clinton. 2 helicopters took off just a couple of minutes ago. One carried the Pope, one carried extraneous personnel, shall we call them. But they brought in 4 helicopters, and they're obviously using all 4. The President will soon be winging his way over to Regis University. I'm Bill Stewart at Mile High Stadium. Amy Sporer has made her way inside, or is at this moment making her way inside through this crowd of 100,000 young people who have come here tonight to see Pope John Paul II. The weather's holding here at the stadium. You saw how hard it was raining at Stapleton Airport. Let's check in with Marty Coniglio for an update on the forecast. Marty?
Bill, things are looking a little dicey coming up. The storm that you see there to the southeast of Bailey, we just measured at almost 60,000 feet in elevation. These are huge storms. You see the large lightning, the frequent lightning strikes as these move to the east-northeast at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. Very heavy rain in these storms. They are going to be a problem. We'll show you the weather outlook here for the metro area over the next 2.5 to 3 hours from 3:30 to about 6 o'clock this evening in and around Mile High Stadium. We do expect a couple of thunderstorms, and especially in the southwest part of town, we'll have some very heavy rain. So if we're lucky, we may see these slip just to the south of Mile High Stadium, but they're taking aim on southwest Denver, so it's going to be a very dicey situation starting up in about 30 minutes, and then from then until around 5 o'clock, we're going to have some very heavy weather to deal with in the metropolitan area. We'll try to deal with it from our end as sensitively as we can and still get the information out to folks who need it.
From our city cam at Mile High. And you can see the crowd is filing in, but still just a very small portion of the seats are filled. They closed down the stadium a little bit earlier for a security sweep. Let's go out to Regis University now. Jim Benneman is there. Any sign of the VIP helicopter?
The advice and guidance of the Secret Service and the Vatican staff, and eventually we had their concurrence that it was an appropriate and, importantly, a safe place for the 2 gentlemen to meet.
As we see those helicopters, Dr. Service, making their way here to Regis, you talked about some of the constant contact between the people here at the university and the Secret Service, the White House staff, and you described it to me earlier today as, you know, Jim, you pretty much just have to hand over the university to some people who will come in and say, this is how it has to be done. How does that that process work, and what do they need out of you?
They need a good deal of cooperation and flexibility, as a matter of fact. That cooperation given gratefully and easily, dealing with professionals like the Secret Service, who've done this, of course, many times. This is a first for Regis and for us, so we had no claim to expertise, and we're more than happy, more than willing to say, yes, you gentlemen, take
As we take our pool camera, this is Marine One, indeed. What a sight. Doctor, as someone with an extensive history here at Regis, just the sight of these helicopters coming in, what's going through your mind?
I've seen a lot of things on the Betcher Commons, but this is a first. It's an absolute first. Usually the Commons would be full of students with Frisbees and that sort of thing.
But no streaking, I would presume, at a Jesuit.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's the library in the background, the academic center of the university, if you like. We're standing absolutely in the center of the Betcher Commons, and looking at this helicopter really fills me with a good deal of excitement and pride for this university.
Certainly should. Here you see one of the Marines throwing open those doors, some of the President's advance men coming off Marine One. And we should explain, for those who are just joining us, why Renelda Muse, News 4's Renelda Muse, is not at our side right now. She has been for our coverage up until now. Renelda is getting ready. She is in a holding area. She will be meeting, or have a chance perhaps even ask a question of the Pope and the President a bit later on, as just before they start their meeting together, their face-to-face meeting, which should be in about a half an hour or so. Still waiting for the President to emerge from the helicopter, and he will be coming off that helicopter and screen right, if you will. The President, this is a staff helicopter, I'm just informed, and once the President arrives, he will be coming off and getting off that helicopter and meeting some of the people who have been selected either through a lottery system or through personal invitation from Regis to meet with him. And I would guess that for those people who are waiting over there right now, much as we made the mistake of thinking, could this be the President, they're probably also wondering just which helicopter will it be who is carrying the President in here to Regis University.
55,000 feet. They are moving to the northeast into the metropolitan area. Those are going to be severe storms. We also have a severe storm there in central Elbert County. We'll keep you up to date.
All right, Marty, thanks very much. Back here live at Regis University in northwest Denver. Yet another Marine helicopter landing, and the prevailing sentiment here among press rows that indeed this is the helicopter that is carrying President Clinton to his historic meeting with Pope John Paul. We were talking earlier about how the campus has been all gussied up for this big meeting, and something that you might be able to get a picture of a bit later on in our coverage is that they mowed a path of very closely cropped grass from the meeting point in Carroll Hall over to the podium, where both the Pope and the President will emerge to briefly chat with reporters and the assembled masses here after their meeting. And not only did they cut that grass, they also went by and mowed up the clippings. Heaven forbid we would not want any of Regis's grass clippings soiling the shoes of these very distinguished visitors we have here to Regis today. Indeed, this is the presidential helicopter, because we looked at that group of people that Dr. Service was talking about, the 125 or so people who will have a chance to press the flesh, if you will, in strictly political terms, with the President and perhaps even later on the Pope. And they just rushed from sort of a holding area hard against one of the buildings here at the university and just rushed up against a brick facade very close to the helicopter, probably not more than 75 or 100 yards away, all very excited about the prospect of shaking hands with the President. Yes, Bill?
We saw all those helicopters fly right over Mile High Stadium. That was apparently their planned route, that they would show the Pope and the President, all the people gathering at Mile High Stadium to see the Pope tonight. And it is confusing. They brought in 4, and to us, they all look just the same. So when that first one landed, who was to know?
Bill, I'm glad I'm not the only one who's been duped.
Well, I saw the first 2 come over, and I say, well, that must be the President and the Pope. And then they turned around and came back the other way. So there is the President.
And right now, Bill, there is the President. And perhaps Dr. Service can talk about some of the people from the university who will be greeting him, and Hillary Clinton and Chelsea right there as they get off the helicopter. Doctor?
Well, he'll be greeted right there in the dark suit is Father Michael Sheeran, who's the president of Regis University. And there we are, Father Michael Sheeran, president of Regis since the 1st of this year, my boss. And he is also, I believe, your partner in commentary.
Indeed he is.
Jim.
The
Yes.
good father will be with us joining in News 4 coverage for the rest of the week.
Yes. The second individual there greeting the president with Father Sheeran is Bishop William Keeler, the Archbishop of Baltimore. He is the president of the National Conference of Catholic Bishops.
And I think that we could say, I would suspect, a rather intense spiritual relationship between Archbishop Keeler and also Archbishop Stafford, because Archbishop Stafford came to Denver from the Baltimore Archdiocese.
That's right. That's right. You would expect that. Now they're walking.
Also see Ambassador Flynn, the Vatican ambassador.
Yes. Yes.
Camera following them over to these very lucky guests who were invited to meet the president and the Pope. And this has to be, as we talked, for President Clinton, very interesting to get back on the campus of a Jesuit university, considering his academic background.
Yes, yes.
Helicopters fly over several times here at the stadium, as if that was, obviously their route was planned, but that was part of the plan to fly over the stadium and give the Pope and the President to look at what's going on here. And what is going on here is that the big raindrops are starting to come down, and many of these people who are with rain gear are unaffected. Others who are without their rain gear look a little concerned. We're more concerned about the streaks of lightning we can see going across the side. It sounds to us like the crowd, yes, it is getting considerably larger, but still not even half full. We are watching people stream in from all directions. Many of these people have arrived here by bus from other venues around town, but many of them are walking over. And they're walking over in the rain right now. A steady stream, 100,000 expected here at Mile High Stadium, and there was a live picture, and there is a live picture of the Pope's helicopter landing at Regis University. Jim?
Indeed it is, Bill, and it will be landing side by side with the President's helicopter. And you can imagine the excitement on the campus of a Jesuit, a Catholic university, as Pope John Paul in the helicopter makes his way into the common area on campus. Alan Service, Vice President for Academic Affairs here at Regis. Perhaps you can tell me if, for those students who study here, as the wind picks up and we get some bolts of lightning, weather taking a turn for the worse, tell us, Doctor, are papal affairs something that the students here would typically study or keep abreast of?
I wouldn't say that they'd be a day-to-day subject. Awareness of the general position of the church and what the Holy Father is teaching and leading, yes, that'd be part of it. It's not a formal course or anything like that, but clearly permeates a lot of what we're talking about here at Regis.
We talked about how the students are not on campus at this time of year to be able to have a chance to take part in this celebration that you're having here today. However, do you suspect that some of those undergrads from Regis are attending World Youth Day as participants?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we know that we have a very significant number of participants involved in World Youth Day, and we had the World Youth Day Congress here all week at the university with some of our students and many guests from around the world. So yes, I think even if our students, even if we were in full session, so to speak, there still wouldn't be very many students here today.
Here you see the Pope's helicopter on the ground here at Regis University. It is 4 o'clock here in the Mile High City, and a lot of you might be tuning into News 4 expecting to see first news. Well, today, the news really doesn't stop. We are going gavel to gavel, if you will. We have tremendous coverage coming your way on both the Pope and the President arriving here in Colorado. They arrived at Stapleton International Airport about an hour or so ago, had some introductory comments for a small crowd gathered there as they tried to ward off the rain. It is dry here at Regis University, which is stop number 2 along the trail for both the Pope and the President today. The President is already on the campus, having arrived just about 10 minutes or so ago. Had a chance to meet about 125 people who were fortunate enough to get invitations. Now the President awaits, as do we all, as the Pontiff is set to emerge from the Marine helicopter. This is a Pope, Doctor, who has seen an awful lot of helicopters in the past couple of days. Yes. I know that his trip to Mexico yesterday included a couple of helicopter rides of about 60 miles each way. And there you see the Regis University president, who will also be one of our expert commentators on News 4's coverage this week, Father Michael Sheeran, along with the Archbishop of Baltimore, Archbishop Keeler, escorting the pontiff over to the waiting crowd.
Yes, that's Father Michael Sheeran in the dark suit and Archbishop Keeler on the Pope's right, guiding him to visit the assembled group of guests we have here at the university. A historic moment for Regis to have the Holy Father walking across the commons here. I
can just imagine for a relatively young priest, Father Mike,
yes,
to both be elevated to president of really one of the most prestigious Jesuit universities in the country, but also he probably recalls his young days in the seminary and what have you, trying to hit the books and become a priest. And here he is, not only the president of this great university, but also a chance to walk arm in arm with the Pope. It has to be just an incredible feeling. You know, we knew that there would be an awful lot of handshakes and perhaps blessings. It looks like the Holy Father is taking time to really get to know some of these visitors, asking a question or two, and that doesn't surprise us, I don't think. I think most of the times when we've seen him work a crowd, if you will, he's certainly aware of his schedule, but certainly not afraid to take some time to really get to know these people who are great admirers of his.
Yes, he clearly is making contact with individual people. Right there, he's saying hello to Father Ed McGinnis, a Jesuit who's a longtime member of this university's faculty.
Anyone else you recognize in the crowd?
I've seen a few faces there from time to time. There's
Perhaps
nobody.
You could describe some of the people who are in there.
I see right behind the Pope right now, Ms. Linda Camby, who's the director of our conference services and has been working 3 shifts a day lately to prepare for this event. From our vantage point now, we see lots of backs of heads.
Yes, I would suspect that there perhaps might not be more of a head turner on earth than the Pope when he starts to work a crowd. There you see some of the people with the cameras.
There's some younger people. Some must be some of our younger students who are in the crowd. He thanked us for greeting him with rain.
Here you see the president is now emerging from Carroll Hall. There they are, shaking hands for a second time today. You saw them say hello to each other, and the president providing the official American welcome as the Pope touched down about an hour or so ago, a little bit more than that by now, out at Stapleton. Here they are chatting, and of course a lot of people wondering what they will chat about. Certainly some world trouble spots, both in the Middle East and in Bosnia, weighing very heavily on both the Pope and the president. We talked about some of the thorny issues confronting the Catholic Church, contraception, perhaps the celibacy issue, and also abortion, to be sure. And we certainly can't be sure if that will come up, but as we described earlier, one of the chief lieutenants from the Vatican saying that with this pontiff, he takes the chance to talk about, as the Vatican describes it, the sanctity of human life at every opportunity. It was an opportunity that the Pope did not miss at Stapleton, and we suspect that, however briefly, he will also broach the subject with President Clinton. But we are sure that, as the ambassador to the Vatican described, Raymond Flynn, former mayor from Boston, let's face it, they might disagree on a couple of issues, but if you took 100 issues, they would probably find square agreement on many, many more than they disagree on. So I'm sure they will be trying to find and hammer out some common ground on some of these issues, specifically when it comes to foreign policy. Ambassador Flynn is part of this entourage going into Carroll Hall. Some of the other topics that Raymond Flynn talked about, he said Bosnia and the Middle East will be things that will be discussed, and we're back on our camera here from our perch, and as they go into Carroll Hall, which is to our left over here, behind us is the main building, and just behind us are a couple of podiums. They'll go in for their 45-minute chat, and Doctor, at the end of those 45 or 50 minutes, they will come out and we suspect tell us a little bit about what they discussed, but perhaps even more profound than that, how they think they might be able to work together in the future on some of those foreign policy issues, some domestic issues, perhaps care for the sick and the elderly. I know that the president's upcoming health proposal is something that the Pope is interested in as well, and so we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yes, we would hope they'd have something to say about their conversation.
A little bit off and on, and now some of the plastic garbage bags are coming out as well. People are dressing in those. Our Paul Day has been monitoring this weather situation. He's out here in Mile High somewhere.
Yeah, apparently the World Youth Day organization has a plan for everything, including bad weather. Is that right, Paul?
Of sorts, Bill. We're along the first baseline here at Mile High, where it has been raining, I'd say steadily, for about half an hour. Many of these young people do have rain gear, but also many of them do not. However, the opportunity to see the Holy Father here in less than an hour and a half has done nothing to dampen the enthusiasm of this crowd. I'd have to describe the crowd as electric. The problem, Bill, is that there is also a lot of electricity in the sky above us. We've been watching lightning bolts flashing near here for the last 15 or 20 minutes. We can frequently hear thunder. So we summoned people from World Youth Day over to tell us what their plan was. And quite frankly, they had very long faces and said that it's impractical to evacuate this stadium. That is not their plan. They're hopeful that this will push through quickly. And we asked about hail. That was mentioned in Marty Caniglio's forecast. If we get hit by a hailstorm, what do they do? And the answer was very short. It was duck. So this crowd definitely is in place here for this ceremony, come rain or shine. I think most of them here would have it that way. Nobody is eager to leave, and they're hopeful that this shower will just move on through, do its thing, and not really interrupt the ceremonies. We all hope that. But the clouds to the southwest that seem to be headed this way are certainly very dark and very ominous. So we'll bear with this ceremony and hope for the best, Bill.
Well, Amy and I have made our way to our broadcast booth here at Mile High Stadium.
I can see you up there. Yeah, you're nice and dry, Bill.
Well, I got a little wet coming up, Paul, but nonetheless, I didn't see any long faces down in that crowd. These people are up for this.
Absolutely. No, this was the organizer who had to tell us what the plan was in the event of a hailstorm or a near lightning strike. They didn't want to contemplate that possibility, but you're absolutely right. This storm has done nothing to dampen the enthusiasm of this crowd. They are just really very excited about the prospect of seeing the Pope in less than an hour and a half.
All right, thanks. Paul Day down at Fieldside here in Mile High Stadium.
Let's check with Marty Caniglio, who's in the Storm Center, though, following all of this. And Marty, what can you tell us? How long is this going to last?
Well, I think we're going to see around Mile High Stadium, things are going to calm down here within the next 15 to 20 minutes. This is very, very fortunate. Last time we spoke, we were talking about this big line of storms, and maybe it would slip south of the stadium. And that is, in fact, what is happening right now. Now, we do have the rain out there. There's a lot of cloud-to-cloud lightning out there as well. We have had a lot of lightning of the other type, however, in the southwest part of town. Cloud-to-ground lightning, very dangerous. We took this just moments ago. As you look down to the southwest, several bolts of lightning have been hitting in and around the metro area, especially down around southwest Denver and Littleton. Several strikes of cloud-to-ground lightning, and that was our biggest concern out of this line of storms moving through Mile High Stadium. It looks like for the immediate future, that danger is past. It's still going to get wet. We still may have one more round of storms before the 5:30 scheduled papal opening ceremonies there to greet the World Youth Day visitors. We're going to watch those storms carefully. We're dealing with these first. Let's show you these. This is double Doppler south, if we get that up for you. Very long, strong line of storms down around Bellevue to Coal Mine and about Sheridan. Very heavy thunderstorms down there. You see the lightning strikes continuing in that area. Now, if you look and see where the Arvada name is and where the dot is for Arvada, just to the right and a little below that is where Mile High Stadium is. You see there are very light echoes there, light rain showers, some cloud-to-cloud lightning, not all that dangerous. The heaviest thunderstorms by far in the southern metro area. They're continuing to move to the east-northeast at about 15 miles an hour. We've been getting several severe thunderstorm warnings for many parts of Colorado, including Bent County in the southeast. Here's another one Larry just handed me. Eastern Elbert County, 1-inch diameter hail in some areas just southwest of Aggies. So we have some strong thunderstorms out there. And I do want to remind folks that we do have a tornado watch in effect until 8 o'clock tonight. It's on the graphic behind me. That includes the urban corridor, and metropolitan Denver is included in that as well. So we're going to keep that watch going for you. The strongest thunderstorms at this point in time are to the south,
where the meeting will take place.
Getting ready to enter the President's Dining Room here at Regis University, specifically Carroll Hall. Oh, there you see Ambassador Flynn, former Boston mayor, now ambassador to the Vatican for the United States.
You're starting to see just how small this room is. It's not very big at all, but that's good.
And we're also seeing, Ronaldo, that this is raw videotape, so if the audience at home knows that, they'll just follow along, as will we.
Exactly. but it's a very intimate space, and for a first meeting between two heads of state, I think it's ideal. It's very warm, it has that kind of climate and atmosphere, and it should be conducive for talking about some real issues.
And I think if you talk about the comfort factor, certainly for the Pope being here at a Jesuit university, but as we've talked about during our News 4 coverage today, this is the first American president to graduate from a Catholic university, and in this case specifically a Jesuit university. Here is President Clinton back on the grounds of a prominent Jesuit school. He attended Georgetown back in Washington. I would suspect that that helps him feel at home.
I would think so. I would think President Clinton is feeling a lot of commonalities with the Pope, and we heard him mention some of those in his speech at the airport.
One thing, Ray, that you talked about a few minutes ago is reporters. We have all been in situations where you've got somebody hopping off a plane or trying to go from point A to point B, and it's just a mob scene of the media hollering questions, trying to get answers to things, and it can be a very crazy situation. But you said in this room the journalists were really showing a great deal of respect for what was transpiring.
Well, actually, there were a couple of opportunities when we were outside waiting to go into the room and the Pope and the President passed. There was ample opportunity then for the press corps to shout questions, but the protocol seemed to be that was not expected or perhaps wanted. So everyone seemed to sort of, through some unspoken signal, respect that, and that was the same situation in the room. As I said, we were more trying to listen to what the Pope and the President were discussing. The discussion, we heard the Pope talking about how Częstochowa in Poland, that city, has grown so much. And we heard some discussion about the Mass. And the President was asking the Pope some questions about the Mass that will take place later.
One thing, as you look, and again, to the people at home, this is a raw, unedited videotape coming into News 4 from just a few moments ago here at Carroll Hall at Regis. We've talked about the relationship that is just now coming to light between President Reagan and this Pope regarding the communist stranglehold on Eastern Europe and, of course, the Pope's deep affection for his homeland, Poland, and how there was this secret alliance between President Reagan and this Pope in terms of trying to create a democratic Poland, helping the solidarity movement. Do you think that there might be some common ground, something like that these two might be able to agree on in future years as something that they could confront together?
Well, that first meeting between the Pope and President Reagan was really an amazing meeting. It lasted for 50 minutes, and apparently during the course of that meeting, they made a clandestine agreement to, number one, support solidarity, make sure that it survived, and also to work for the dissolution of communism. And later press accounts of that have talked about an absolute holy alliance between the two. So I think one of the things that we have been wondering as journalists is what kind of relationship really is possible between the Vatican and the White House. And if you can look at the Reagan administration and see what kind of relationship they had when they worked hand in hand to keep solidarity alive, and they worked hand in hand to further the destabilization of the Soviet Union, it's amazing what's possible. So this does not have to be just a meeting of polite exchanges. There could be real substance that comes out of this meeting, as witnessed with the Reagan
There was
administration.
a recent editorial, and I think you showed it to me this morning, and was that from Archbishop Keeler from Baltimore, talking about how the media always tends to focus on the divisive issues, in this case specifically contraception, perhaps celibacy of American priests and abortion, of course, and said that so much time is dealing with issues upon which the church and, for example, this administration and even Catholics disagree, that sometimes we forget the bigger picture that there is with this administration and this Pope, so much that they do agree on when it comes to confronting human suffering, injustice around the world, human rights. Perhaps there will be more of a common bond than we might expect.
Well, Archbishop Keeler in that article said something very interesting. He said all of these young people did not come to Denver to disagree.
Right.
And in the same vein, perhaps the President and the Pope have not traveled here to Denver to disagree either. So they may find some very common ground, much more common ground than we might expect.
As you've studied the background of these two men, any things that specifically stand out as you see them together on this videotape?
Well, I just think they're both men that have a strong sense of themselves, and they're not afraid to express it. Certainly, the Pope amazed many of the journalists who were listening to his remarks at the airport that he was not at all shy about touching on the most controversial issue and a source of disagreement that he has with the president. The respect for human life and abortion, that issue. He was not afraid to wade into that. And I suspect that when they sit down and talk, that issue will come up. A lot of people were taking bets. Will they avoid the sticky issues and only deal with what they're...
I doubt it.
I doubt it, too. I really do.
We were even getting mixed signals as we are back live now from our perch here at Regis University, and we were even getting mixed signals from some top White House aides, one of them telling those of us at News 4 in a conference call yesterday he doubted that the issue of abortion would come up, but yet we just read, I believe it was in a Time or Newsweek article just a week or so ago, saying, or quoting another White House aide saying, as passionate as the Pope is on this issue, he can't believe that he would not feel some moral obligation to bring it up with the leader of the free world. So
absolutely, and I believe the Pope also would bring it up because that same article suggested that it may in fact impact upon President Clinton's proposed health care proposals, that whole issue. So he would not avoid it. He would not want to avoid it.
Something that one of the White House people also mentioned is they might be far apart on the abortion issue, but on some of the issue of trying to prevent unwanted pregnancies, perhaps that might be some area where they might be able to find some common ground in terms of educating young people. But as we know, a very difficult issue, and they've only got about 45 or 50 minutes. Right now, we're going to send it back to Mile High Stadium, and I believe Ronald, or I should say Bill and Amy.
All right, thanks, Jim Benneman. Perhaps that was wishful thinking on the part of the White House when they were saying that they did not expect the abortion issue to come up. But maybe it did, maybe it didn't.
Well, it'll be interesting. I think the Pope made it very clear at the airport that he was not going to altogether avoid it. And, again, part of his theme here and certainly his message to the young people is it may be difficult sometimes, but these are the kinds of things you have to stand up for. And I think he's going to be following that in that meeting today with the president.
Well, the good news here at Mile High Stadium is that the weather has gotten a little better. The rain has let up for the most part. Steve Daniels is down in the crowd. Nobody seems to care whether it's raining or not, do they?
Actually, it's
Paul Day, actually. Let's go to Paul.
Bill, you're absolutely right. Most people have put down their umbrellas, as we have here. I think if you believe in the power of prayer, Mother Nature is cooperating. This event is going on as planned. The weather is definitely clearing. Joining me now are two young ladies, both high school students from New Jersey. They have trekked all the way here, some 2,000 miles to see the Pope. I don't suppose you cared much if it was going to rain or shine.
No, not really, not at all.
What does it mean to be here waiting for the Pope to arrive in less than an hour?
It's a miracle. It's really special.
Tell me why it's so special.
Well, I've never seen the Pope up close except like on TV, and I'm really religious, and it's just like a great opportunity for me to see the Pope in person.
Can you express what that feeling is? I mean, just why it means so much to you?
It's just so amazing just to see a person who is such a good religious leader up close.
Okay. And I guess we'll see him under dry conditions now, so thanks for joining us. Two young ladies from New Jersey, and this crowd is definitely celebrating the weather that's clearing now, and certainly celebrating the fact that the Pope will be here in about 45 minutes. Bill, back to you.
Paul, we're not seeing very many empty seats in this stadium at all.
No, you're certainly not. 73,000 have packed the seating area, and behind us here you can see a few empty seats, Amy, but there will be some 13,000 more seated down here, I believe, all of them selected by a lottery.
Okay, now let's go down to Steve Daniels. We promised him earlier. We'll take him now. He's in the crowd. Steve?
A lot of excitement down here. I'm sorry, my mic wasn't on there. I should mention an awful lot of excitement here. Marty Caniglio nailed the forecast a little while ago. In fact, the clouds have gone by. An awful lot of excitement right here. Some folks a little wet. You endured the rain. How are you feeling?
I feel great. I didn't even realize it was raining.
And what are you ready for here tonight?
I'm ready for the Pope and all the excitement of having him here in this country.
You brought an awful lot of kids from Dayton, Ohio.
Yes,
looks like an lot of excitement here.
We have a busload. Right now I have about 8 kids from St. James and Dayton, Ohio.
All right. right, well, welcome to Denver, welcome to Mile High Stadium, and try to stay dry. If we take a look back out to the stadium floor right now, you can see flags of the world rounding Mile High Stadium right now. I see one that says Mexico, Siempre Feliz, Mexico, always happy. I see a Polish flag, I see an Italian flag, I see the red, white, and blue right behind us. Really an awful lot of excitement here, Bill and Amy.
Thanks, Steve Daniels. If you expected this to be a rather sedate ceremony, you were certainly wrong.
Sedate would not be the word that I would use.
A few empty seats. People are wandering back over from the McDonald's feeding area over near McNichols Arena.
Right.
Still a fairly steady stream of people coming in, though you can still see a few empty seats. Some of those orange things you see in the stands are actually orange raincoats. Those aren't empty seats. A lot of people still wearing their orange rain gear. It looks like one group got a discount on orange rain gear, and they all went to the same store.
They aren't going to lose each other anyway, right? Of course, Mile High seats, what, 76,000 people, but there will be nearly 95,000 here tonight.
Yeah, 17,000 seats have been set up down on the field.
Here.
Let's listen to a little Up With People.
Amor se complementa, amor en el pasado. Bembelé, 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 bembelé. Bamboleo, bambolea, porque mi vida yo la aprendí a vivir así. Bamboleo, bambolea, porque mi vida yo la aprendí a vivir así. Bamboleo, bambolea, porque mi vida yo la aprendí a vivir así. Bamboleo, bambolea, porque mi vida yo la prefiero vivir así.
There's been quite a string of performers on this stage this afternoon. A gospel choir that I thought was just wonderful.
Very nationalistic celebration. You see all the flags from the different countries, Mexican flags, Canadian flags, American flags, Australian flags.
Yeah.
But yet they all seem to be glad to see each other.
Or perhaps it was the Archbishop of Baltimore. Somebody was carrying an umbrella for him as they went into the meeting. As they emerge, we're even starting to see some blue sky as the sun starts to fall slowly over the mountains. Certainly doesn't look as if the weather will be any problem from here on out.
Oh, I know the Marine helicopter pilots are glad to hear that, because they were very concerned that they might have to change plans and actually have a limousine entourage to the airport and to Mile High Stadium, because they were very concerned about the lightning strikes that we were getting in the area. But as you say, it's clearing up. We're seeing blue skies, and that shouldn't be a problem.
You know, we talked about the beauty of this area, this mall or quadrangle area here at Regis University. So many people who might just drive by on the surrounding thoroughfares know the school is here. Many, I would suspect, probably have not taken the time to come in and visit, but certainly you can see just a spectacular setting, just perfect. Pope and President now making their way up to the
along that
podium.
Freshly mown path that we just told you about.
We talked about the Pope keeping such a busy schedule over the last several days as he's left the Vatican for Jamaica and Mexico and now on to Rome.
But doesn't he look energetic?
Yeah, he does.
I mean, it's amazing to me. I mean, he keeps a schedule that would tire us who are, you know, half his age or more, and he's just amazing.
There you see Regis University's really its architectural cornerstone main hall in the background. And we will now hand it over to the President of the United States and Pope John Paul.
It was a great pleasure and a great honor for me to be able to spend some time with the Holy Father. We had a cordial and productive meeting, and I believe we laid the basis for a productive and constructive relationship in the future. We shared many values and perspectives. A commitment to today's young people in the United States and throughout the world. A belief in work and family and the importance of pursuing policies that support them. A commitment to correcting the social problems that give rise to so many problems for our people in this country, violence, drugs, and other things. And a recognition that we need in this nation and throughout the world both more individual responsibility and more community action.
We talked about a wide range of international problems. We discussed Bosnia at length, as you might imagine. We talked about the peacekeeping mission in Somalia. We talked about the efforts of nations working together through the United Nations to reduce violence and support human rights and democracy throughout the world, in Cambodia, for example, and other places. We talked about the former Soviet Union and conditions in many countries. We talked about the Holy Father's native Poland and the progress that they are making there. We talked about Haiti and what the United States is trying to do there to restore democracy and freedom. And throughout, I, like every other person who has ever met him, was profoundly impressed by the depth of His Holiness's conviction, the depth of his faith, and the depth of his commitment to continue on his mission. I very much welcome the Vatican's commitment to human rights, including religious freedom for all. I welcome the progress that is being made in forging relationships and closer ties between the Vatican and Israel. That can only help as we seek to pursue peace in the Middle East. We both are worried about the conditions in Somalia, the Sudan, Haiti, and Bosnia. We both are concerned about the problems that have always been with us, but we believe that we can make progress in dealing with them. Finally, let me just say once again how very grateful I am to the Holy Father for coming to World Youth Day here in Denver and for the Catholic Church's decision to bring World Youth Day to the United States and to Denver. It is my hope that the success of this extraordinary gathering of young people will create a greater spirit of unity and community among them, and a renewed commitment among those who are Americans to work for greater justice and opportunity here at home. At the end of our meeting, the Holy Father presented me with a Bible, and so I close with a verse from it that I think characterizes his work, and I hope in due time will characterize the work that we are doing here. The exhortation in St. Paul's letter to the Galatians: let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. Thank you, Your Holiness, for your heart and your efforts.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased, Mr. President, that we have had this opportunity to talk together about some of the principal concerns of the world situation at this moment. The inalienable dignity of every human being and the rights which flow from that dignity. In the first place, the right to life, defense of life, as well as the well-being and full human development of individuals and peoples, are at the heart of the Church's message and action in the world. Essentially, these are the themes on which the Church seeks a sincere and constructive dialogue with the leaders of the world's nations and the representatives of the international community. I look forward to further contacts in the future in the same spirit of mutual understanding and esteem which has always characterized relations between the United States and the Holy See. I take this opportunity to thank you once more for welcoming me to the United States. I assure you that I pray each day for the leaders of government that they may be wise and far-seeing servants of the common good, and that their decisions and actions may bring genuine justice and peace in the world. Thank you very much. I should say that the President was very gracious to me.
Jim Betterman and News 4's Ronaldo Muse reporting live from Regis University, right in front of Main Hall. And truly, Ronaldo, it was a historic moment. And I think both you and I have covered all kinds of stories. Really quite a scene to see the President and the Pope together here in Denver.
Absolutely. And the Pope now making some personal comments to President Clinton, which we can't hear, but he did thank the President, you say, for being very, very gracious to him here.
They had come along a press row here where we are just a few moments before the two leaders emerged and handed us something that we thought might provide some sort of a blueprint for the Pope's comments. Indeed, he followed the script to the letter.
He's the first president of the United States I meet, and he's the youngest. I am still and still older, and he's still and still younger. It is also a motivation of the place for the World Day of the Youth. World Day of the Youth in the United States, in Denver, for the United States have a very young president. Thank you.
As they depart, the Pope, as we talked about, not quick earlier in his post-meeting remarks to depart from his script, but towards the end, something that you pointed out, saying for those of you who might think, because of our discussion of some very difficult issues, it was anything less than cordial, complimenting the President for the very gracious treatment the Pope says he received from the President of the United States.
And holding the President up as a great symbol for World Youth Day.
Right, right. I'm sure the President was quite flattered. Not only does he get a happy birthday rendition at Stapleton, he comes out here and has the Pope talking to him about his youthfulness.
And look how the weather has changed. It's simply gorgeous here right now. The sun is shining, and as I said, I know that's making the helicopter pilots, the Marine helicopter pilots, very happy, because they were concerned earlier about the departure to Mile High Stadium. But it's simply gorgeous now. I mean, Denver is certainly, the weather is changeable, but it is certainly supporting this event in the final analysis.
As the Pope and the President make their way towards their respective helicopters, it will be the Pope departing first. His schedule is a bit tighter.
Yes.
He's got to proceed on to that tremendous celebration going on out at Mile High Stadium. There you see Hillary and Chelsea saying their goodbyes to the Pope, along with her husband and father, President Bill Clinton. Anyways, the Clintons will say so long and wait for the papal helicopter to depart, then followed momentarily by the President's helicopter back to Stapleton and on to California before the President returns to Denver tomorrow.
That's right. Now, we were told that Hillary and Chelsea were given a tour, I believe, of the campus while this historic meeting was taking place. And they've emerged from that now, too, and saying their goodbyes to the Pope.
One thing we noticed within the Pope's remarks, a lot of people wondering going in, certainly some very difficult, divisive issues, and would the Pope be addressing those issues? As you, in the lower right hand of your screen, see that tremendous throng, that sea of people massed over at Mile High Stadium awaiting the Pope's arrival there. But he emerges from a meeting here where, according to the Pope, there was some discussion of the abortion issue and the sanctity of life issues. And his aides were saying before he came over, he will not miss an opportunity to talk about that matter. And we've seen that both at Stapleton and here at Regis, just a few sentences into any remarks that he offers to a crowd, we will hear about the abortion issue.
Right now, a gift is being given. This is we're told it's a gift. We were told earlier by Father Sheeran that it would be a Santos that he would be giving to the Pope and to the President. And we see that exchange of gifts right now.
The President talked about how he had received a Bible from the Pope as they said goodbye.
Right, and very quickly went to obviously one of his favorite verses to quote in closing out his remarks.
saying essentially, let us not grow weary as we try to do good.
Yes.
Incidentally,
they're running a little behind schedule. I mean, it's 5:32 now, and according to the Pope's schedule, he should be at Mile High right now. But still, for the fullness of his day, I think that just the fact that they're just a few minutes behind is pretty amazing.
Here you see Regis University President Father Mike Sheeran, who will be joining us momentarily after these two world leaders depart his campus here at Regis, joining us with his other hat on, that being of the commentator, one of the commentators who is helping us sort through some of the issues confronting the church and the crowds gathering for World Youth Day. Father Mike will be with us in just a few minutes, and we talked about how this has just been a great opportunity for the university, and also personally for Father Mike. I know that he's had a delightful time.
It's a real coup for Regis University, and the whole world is watching them today. So many months of hard work went into this, securing this venue here for this visit, this historic meeting. But it's something that no one who's here today will ever forget.
The Pope saying so long, saying goodbye to the many people who have gathered here at Regis. We talked earlier in our coverage about the lucky 100 or so, a few more than 100 people, who either through an on-campus lottery system or benefactors or friends of the university were invited over to shake hands and have the chance to meet both the Pope and the President. They provided some applause as the Pope prepared to board his helicopter.
My understanding that they close most of the airspace when the Pope is in the air.
Well, apparently they've opened it up for Copter 4, and now the papal helicopter heading toward Mile High Stadium. It's just a short flight, so we're going to sort of situate ourselves here where we can look out. Our back is sort of to the crowd and toward the cameras, so we're going to get in a position where we can see the helicopter come over the stadium and then go into the parking lot.
Jim had remarked about how amazing it is that they are only, or maybe it was Ray who said they're only maybe 20 minutes late. And you know, with all that is going on today and with the extra time that the Pope has taken in some of his remarks, it really is quite incredible that they are really only 20 minutes late or so.
Yeah, Ray talked for a moment about maybe the President had considered coming over here tonight, but I don't think, I think he would have felt out of place here. This is really the Pope's show, and it is going to be a big show, and that's who they want to see.
Right.
Many of these people don't even know who the President of the United States is.
That guy from Washington,
that guy from Washington is one person referred to him. So I think the President wants to stay out of this situation where he would truly be second banana in this venue.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of that at Stapleton Airport, and he was really the Pope who was the center of attention, and Clinton was sort of the escort.
Yeah.
And that's okay for the welcoming ceremony, but beyond that, I'm not sure that he would have really appreciated it too much.
So here at Mile High Stadium in the past hour or so, we've heard a gospel choir, Up With People. We've seen people dancing around, shaking hands with policemen, waving flags from 70 different countries. And now,
look at that sight.
In a couple of minutes, the Pope's helicopter, which is actually a Marine Corps helicopter, will fly over the stadium and land. The Pope will get into his Pope-mobile, which is a Chevrolet four-wheel drive with the glass, bulletproof glass around the sides, and he will drive into the stadium and make a half circle, ending up back by the stage back there, and then he will come onto the stage, and this place will go crazy, I suspect.
The Pope-mobile made in Mérida, Mexico. A Chevy made in Mérida, Mexico.
Yeah, the second leg of the Pope's mission to Colorado. He stopped in Mérida, Mexico, spoke to a crowd of 1 million last night in Mérida after I would guess a rather disappointing stop in Kingston, Jamaica. Jamaica is not a prominently Catholic country. The Pope went to Kingston and preached his gospel of birth control, which is not the most popular thing in Kingston, Jamaica, or Jamaica right now.
No, but then he went on to Mexico, and there he just received a resounding welcome from the people there. And, you know, we've heard him, or we've read that he has a particular affinity for Mexico because he said it is the country that has remained Catholic even through the times where the people there were not allowed to practice Catholicism. So I think that it was a particularly special thing for him. But how can it compare to this?
Well, the Pope and the President talked about their commitment to young people and more individual responsibility, which is sort of a way of saying birth control without saying birth control. birth control maybe in the president's mind, but abstinence in the Pope's mind.
Right.
They talked about that. They talked about Bosnia and Somalia. They've disagreed over Somalia, or at least the Pope disagreed with the Bush administration, which sent in troops there. And they talked about human rights around the world. They talked about Poland and the former Soviet Union. The Pope, along with former President Reagan, in some ways helping bring down the Soviet government.
And there was a lot of speculation that these two men would perhaps talk about how to bring a new time of cooperation between the two of them, and that perhaps there would be more international cooperation in bringing about human rights, and certainly about bringing about peace and justice in some of the more troubled areas of the world. How to go about doing that, though, they may differ on.
You're looking out over Mile High Stadium, a crowd estimated at between 90 and 100,000 people, and they are waiting for the arrival of Pope John Paul II. And we're looking out the windows now, waiting to get the first glimpse of that helicopter.
We talked
that Marine Corps helicopter.
Right, we talked about some empty seats, and I think you could probably count maybe 50 of them. I'm not sure.
That's President Clinton and Mrs. Clinton and Chelsea, still at Regis University. Apparently Mrs. Clinton and Chelsea are going to stay in Colorado tonight, where Mr. Clinton makes another trip. They're talking with Father Mike Sharon, who will be joining us, we hope, later this evening, but certainly on Saturday and Sunday from Cherry Creek Reservoir, right, the site of the vigil and the mass on Sunday.
He's the president of Regis University and had the most, quite an honor to be able to greet both the president and the Pope when they arrived at Regis. So he should have some pretty interesting insight. What a sound, huh?
Yeah, I'm not sure there's ever been a bigger crowd than this at Mile High Stadium. There have been some other crusades. The Billy Graham crusade came here and drew a big crowd. I suspect it was in the neighborhood of this size.
And don't forget the Rockies' first game.
Well, it wasn't quite this big.
No,
you didn't have all those people on the infield.
Yeah.
But it's the biggest crowd I've ever seen here. And these people are very proud. There's sort of a flag ceremony going on now, displaying the flags of the 70 countries represented at World Youth Day in Denver, Colorado. And I can see on our monitor, I believe, a helicopter coming in.
Helicopter?
I can't see it out the window yet, but I can see it on the monitor.
No, but it should be just moments now.
There it is.
And they're
here
showing it
right
on
over
the big screen
stadium
here, and I'm sure you can hear the swell of the crowd. There it is. Oh, what a sight, isn't that?
You talk about dramatic entrances, and this is one. He's landing right behind the south stands. And these people know who it is.
Boy, I've never seen anything, heard anything quite like this.
People are running across the parking lots. Now that landing area back there is fenced off, but people are running across the parking lot, crowding up to the fences to get a view of the Pope. They've seen him on television. They've seen him on the big Diamond Vision here at Mile High Stadium, but they have not seen him in person.
Well,
now they're about to get their chance.
That they will say that they have, this is the chance of a lifetime for them, and that this is something they'll remember for the rest of their lives. There isn't a person in this stadium sitting down.
And here comes another helicopter. Now we have to admit that we're not sure whether the Pope was on the first one or the second one, but we know he's on one of them.
I'm inclined to think he might be on the second.
You can see in your picture a big cross right in front of the stage. The stage is right in front of the south stands, if you're familiar with Mile High Stadium. A huge cross.
They're beginning to clear out the stage there, too, where the Pope will stand. That was up with people on the stage, and now they're leaving the stage.
People in the crowd beginning to chant and stomp their feet. in several languages a moment ago up on the big scoreboard. There were the words
in each
welcome
of those
in many languages.
Right.
So now the excitement will build for these people here, because it takes a couple of minutes to get out of that helicopter and get into the Pope-mobile. And I would assume that they have things cleared away and that the Pope will come in. They're on the south side, because there's a large crowd of people here on the southwest entrance. And they're putting up a gate there.
So the helicopters are just directly behind those stands, the south stands there.
There you see some
Look
of the kids.
Look it on your monitor.
Some of the kids who are so excited to be here. I don't know whether they'll be more excited today or more excited on Sunday. I talked with Father Sharon about that. I said, what's going to happen on Sunday after all these most of them aren't children, but some of them are young people. Have spent the night at Mile High Stadium, and here comes a third helicopter. Now we're totally confused. But I asked Father Shearing, what's going to happen Sunday after all these kids have been up Saturday night at this vigil? Many of them have walked to the stadium, and we have a better shot of this helicopter coming in, so we will learn. These people are going to be wired, and then the Pope is going to come into Cherry Creek State Park for this Mass.
And yet this is their very first glimpse of him. So perhaps this will be the most exciting event. I think Saturday there will be a little bit more a sense of reverence too. Not that there's no reverence here, but this is a celebration. And when you get into the vigil and then the Mass, I think there will be just a little bit more of a somber attitude.
Well, I don't know, Amy.
We'll find out, huh?
There's going to be a lot of flag waving.
If this is any indication, that I'll be completely wrong.
Now on the big screen at Mile High Stadium, they put up a picture of the helicopter. Most of the people inside the stadium can't see the helicopters after they've landed. So they put up a picture of the helicopter. And a big cheer went up.
Yeah. So you're seeing in the bottom corner of your screen, there in the parking lot where the helicopters have landed, and of course inside Mile High Stadium, at the top of your screen. This is really going to be a night of really truly celebration in the classic sense, and just so much song and ceremony. But a fourth helicopter. What are we supposed to think here?
Well, we'd been told all along that the president would not be coming here.
But now you begin to wonder.
But if he's not, and maybe somebody at Regis can fill us in on this, if he's not, he must be taking a cab back to the airport, because
all the helicopters
are here at Mile High Stadium. I guess we'll just wait and see who appears.
Well, you said you used the word drama, and that is certainly the feeling. There's almost a suspense. Who's going to come out of which helicopter here?
Well, maybe the Pope invited the president to come with him to Mile High Stadium, and if the Pope invites you, it'd probably be hard to turn him down.
Well, I don't think you say no.
So they have put up more pictures just a second ago of the other helicopter. Now that whole lot is full of helicopters.
And I think we've got Up With People back on the stage, once again entertaining. Literally, every person in this stadium is on his feet.
Well, we've certainly never seen anything like this in Denver, Colorado.
No. Stay on it all the time. This is a historic happening.
Okay, the president has just left Regis. He's not coming. Is that our impression? He is not coming to Mile High Stadium.
So what is his mode of transportation, I wonder?
Well, he was able to snag a cab back to the airport. And
yeah.
That's a question I can't answer, but...
No, he took his own helicopter. And what about Hillary Rodham Clinton and Chelsea Clinton? Do we know where they are? Is that... This is the kind of thing, though, where you would expect people to be just crowding into the aisles and into the places where they're restricted, but that's not the case at all.
Okay, now we're told that the president did leave Regis University by helicopter and that Mrs. Clinton and Chelsea left by limousine. Okay. The Marine Guards, as you can see, have just opened the doors to one of the helicopters. Okay. And we'll just wait and see for ourselves who comes out. A limousine has pulled up in front of that helicopter.
Well, I see at least one cardinal getting out of that helicopter. And a much tighter picture of the helicopter that's unloading in the parking lot right behind the South Stands. And the Marines with their salute.
As you might expect, security is fairly tight as it can be in an event with 100,000 people. The Secret Service in charge of security, the Swiss Guards are here, and Vatican security is here. You can see a lot of those security people standing around that limousine. They're generally the people in the sunglasses talking into their sleeves.
Yeah, you know those guys. I haven't seen the Swiss Guardsmen yet, and there are always two that travel with the Pope, and have, I guess, since the 1500s.
We're told that this limousine will take the Pope to the Pope-mobile, which we speculate is parked right outside the gate, down at the southwest corner of the stadium. There are a lot of Denver police officers standing out front.
That would make you suspect. All right.
And there is the Pope emerging from the helicopter, and they put that up on the big screen here at Mile High Stadium, and there's a big cheer.
There you can see him walking out just in front of the limousine. Listen to that.
Apparently the Pope is not going to take the limousine ride, but is going to walk.
You know,
it's only about 50 yards, I would guess.
I think that's very typical of this Pope. He's not the kind to need all of that kind of falderall. He's just going to be out there in the crowd.
Well, here's a man who's been on an airplane all day long. He's ready for some exercise, and he is a man who exercises regularly.
Well,
Love to ski and hike and climb. And
very athletic. They call this Pope the People's Pope, and I think we've really seen that today, just in the way that he interacts with people.
Well, this is what these young people have come to see. They've come to see the Pope.
And they are seeing him.
There are cameras on the Pope-mobile, so we'll be able to see as he enters the stadium. We should point out that while the sun is not shining at the moment, we can see blue skies off to the west. So we got rain and soggy earlier, and now the Pope has come into view.
And the crowd goes wild, as they say, huh?
Amy, those would be the nuns in the cheap seats getting their first look at the Pope.
I spoke with one of the sisters at the Abbey of Walburga, which is out near Boulder. It's a cloistered abbey, and they very, very rarely get out of the abbey, but they were all going to be here tonight.
You know, I believe those are people outside still trying to get in. And there we are. A picture from Copter 4 of this nearly jam-packed stadium. There are a few seats empty in some of the upper decks, but the outfield area of Mile High Stadium is shoulder to shoulder. We were told there'd be 17,000 down on the field. I believe a lot more than that talked their way past security to get onto the field here at Mile High Stadium.
And again, we should say that this is an invitation-only event, so there are still some 70,000 young people who are here for World Youth Day who are not able to be part of this event, at least not here at Mile High Stadium. They're taking part in their own way over at Celebration Plaza or Civic Center Park. So I would imagine it's that same sort of enthusiasm there tonight. They've got some, I guess, 2 Diamond Vision big screens as well. So I bet they're sounding the same way that these young people are.
Well, here's the situation. The Pope is apparently getting into the Pope Mobile, which is parked behind some gates down next to the south stands. Denver police officers are standing out in front of those gates. And they'll apparently pull the gates open in just a couple of minutes and get out of the way. And the Pope will make this drive around the inside of the stadium before he goes up onto the stage.
The song that they are singing right now is called Room for Everyone. And that, again, is one of the themes, one of the messages here.
Well, this is quite a build-up. As we told you earlier, we've seen The Wave. We've heard them sing Louie Louie, and Up With People has gone through their repertoire.
Yeah. Notice they're not singing Louie Louie now.
No, they're not. Father Mike Sheeran was telling me, we were talking earlier about what's going to happen at the Reservoir on Sunday or Saturday night when the Pope gets...
Isn't it? The Pope Mobile, made in Mexico, brought up here just yesterday. And he's going to make his way through around the entire stadium. Running across the field, hoping to get better seats. Trying to get as close to the fence as they can.
Well, you might wonder why the Pope has come into this arena in a bulletproof vehicle. And I think it's just convenience. You cannot walk through an unsecured area, even with 100,000 adoring followers.
I think once you've been through an assassination attempt, you don't go anywhere in the midst of 100,000 people and not have some sort of security like that.
And Amy, you're right. Now we're seeing people run to get as close to the fence as they can to get a closer look at the Pontiff as he drives by.
So much for my assertion earlier on that everyone was staying behind the gates.
Yeah. Of course, I believe News 4 Steve Daniels has the best seat in the house. Steve, we can see you down there. You obviously have connections that can get great pictures for us. Maybe you can get a picture for us when he comes by.
Well, Bill and Amy, it's amazing right now. The star of the show, if you will, is about to arrive, and these people right over to the left of us right here, you can see them waving banners and bandanas of all colors. We should be seeing the Pope Mobile around the corner here in just a couple of minutes, and they have been chanting for the past few minutes, John Paul II, we love you. And, you know, it's being so close to all of this energy, a tingle going through my spine, too, right now. It's really an amazing feeling to be a part of this right now. Bill, as you mentioned, certainly the biggest thing Denver's ever seen, and we will keep our camera and our eyes trained on the Pope Mobile. As a matter of fact, I see it coming round the bend right now. He will be coming into view shortly here. Bill and Amy, I am now seeing the Holy Father, and it appears he's getting a real thrill out of this. I see a wide smile on his face.
To the stage.
A lot of people who didn't get invitations to this event are standing outside. We can look out on the hill between here and McNichols Arena. There's a big crowd standing just looking in the stadium, wishing they were here. Another off to our left, lining fences. They can't get inside without those passes, but they're getting as close as they can.
They probably had their own view of the Pope as he emerged from his helicopter, the Marine helicopter, and made his way into Mile High Stadium.
Now the Pope is walking out toward the crowd. He's exited the Pope-mobile. He's walking toward the crowd, flanked by security people, cardinals. Many of those men you see around the Pope are Secret Service.
We have talked about how this Pope, as does President Clinton, makes Secret Service people crazy because they just love to delve into the crowd.
Oh, yeah, he loves to wade in, and that's what he's doing there, touching hands, shaking hands. Moving toward the front of the stage. I suspected he would enter the stage from the back, but it looks like he's going to make a pass by the front and see as many people as he can before he goes up onto the stage.
He certainly has a real sense of his own charisma, I think, and his own power, and what kind of power he has over the people.
Well, people have said that when the Pope and the President get together, you've got the strongest military might in the world.
Kissing his ring. That you see here greeting the Pope. They've been chosen by the Pontifical Council for the Laity, which is the body which actually oversees the World Youth Day planning. So that's what you're watching here.
We're told the President is on board Air Force One and will be leaving Stapleton Airport in just a few minutes. He'll be back here tomorrow. The Pope continues to greet the special guests up on the stage with him at Mile High Stadium tonight.
But what I was about to say earlier was even though so many Americans disagree with this Pope on so many moral issues,
3 or 4 days before all of the thrill of this has hit me totally. But what I experienced first was the President, when he got off his helicopter, had clearly read up on Regis. And he asked a few questions about the school. It's obvious that he knew the myth, at least, that the main hall, which is behind us here, was built in 100 days. And he really enjoyed himself, and I must say made me feel very much at home. When the Holy Father got out of his helicopter, I was struck immediately by the general teasing tone, the good humor that just seemed to pervade everything that he did and stayed with him throughout the whole time he was here. When he went over to the crowd, there was a banter, a kidding with people about the things they had brought to be blessed, about the languages they were speaking, about anything that just happened to cross his mind. He also, by the way, threatened us. He said that he was very concerned that there were no students here, and I explained that it was summertime when the students are on vacation, and so he said, well, then I'll have to come back and see the students, so we're going to hold him to that. And we enjoyed it just tremendously.
Father Sharon, this is Bill Stewart at Mile High Stadium, Father Sharon. The Pope and the President genuinely seem to get along. They walk together, and there seemed to be no friction at all. Yet we sensed at the welcoming ceremonies at the airport that the Pope made his point about birth control and abortion. But they generally seem to get along.
Well, I think, Bill, this is the difference of two men of goodwill and integrity who happen to disagree about an important issue, and they respect each other. This is the kind of civil discourse that Archbishop Stafford, among other people, has called for consistently on this whole issue of abortion. And I think it was exemplified very well today by the President and the Pope.
Father, you said something very interesting, an insight into that meeting between the President and the Pope about the length of that meeting that we were not aware of. Could you share that with us?
Oh, yes. It was interesting to me that
Okay, we're going to take a break now because the Pope is beginning to speak. In just a moment, he will be starting.
John Paul II. Welcome His Eminence Eduardo Cardinal Peronio. Welcome Angelo Cardinal Sodano. Archbishop James Keeler, President of the United States Catholic Conference, and Archbishop Francis Stafford, Archbishop of Denver. On the stage at the same time, we have Eugenio Kalingala from Angola, Anne Turgeon from Canada, Paul Ocaña Sovia from Ecuador, Joe Kitterick from England and Wales, Patricia Castilleja de Leon from Mexico, Shahin Musa Gil from Pakistan, Susan Ibiza from Bosnia, and Luca Crivelli from Switzerland. Joining us from the United States of America,
we talked about how tight the security is here.
Melissa
Those are
Esman,
Secret Service sharpshooters with the big binoculars, keeping an eye on everything here at Mile High Stadium.
Melissa Ehrman from Burke, Virginia.
Talk about a bird's eye view,
Chris
huh?
Herrera from Austin, Texas. James Bream from Boston, Massachusetts.
The young man speaking right now is one of the three MCs they'll use tonight. He is Javier Anjal, also one of the MCs for the papal welcome here at Mile High Stadium.
Javier lives in Washington, D.C. He's 30 years old, and he works in retail sales World Youth Day. And he has been president of the Pontifical Council for the Laity.
He is from Argentina, and as you said, he oversees World Youth Day. Has done that since 1985.
The first World Youth Day was in Buenos Aires, and is his welcome to the Pope.
Puedo aseguraros, Santo Padre, que esta gran fiesta de la vida ya ha comenzado cuando nos convocasteis aquí en Denver, Colorado, y nos propusisteis el tema: he venido para que tengan vida y la tengan en abundancia.
But still have a very meaningful conversation. What do you think will come out of this? Their discussions were apparently prominently about the problems of youth in America and around the world. What can come of that?
Well, Bill, I think an awful lot can come of it in the sense that the United States is a key to anything that the Vatican is interested in terms of improving the general tenor of human life. And the Pope is concerned on one level about the self-indulgence that has marked too much of the consumer society. But in another direction, what he sees in the United States is an important potential ally for bringing areas of social justice to the consciousness of the rest of the world. And I think a certain amount of focus there is going to be emerging in the next few months, particularly from what the new ambassador to the Holy See has been saying in the last 2 or 3 days. So we'll see an alliance between the United States and the Holy See in the area of relief, in the area of social justice.
Will this be a very visible alliance, or will this be played out behind the scenes, do you think?
I think it will be a little bit of both. There are certain areas, I believe, where the Holy See can particularly make it easier for the United States to give aid without suspicion. And you'll see the Holy See there being more visible, I think.
Did you feel that the Pope was pleased with that meeting?
My sense was that the Pope enjoyed it. I had a sense, too, that he was a little bit tired, probably from all of the events of the last few days and the air travel. But the banter continued all the way through to the end, and he was kidding me as he got on the helicopter. It was obvious he was in a very good mood.
What did he say to you?
One of the things he said to me, I mentioned before, I think, about the need for him to return when we had students here rather than trustees and staff. Beyond that, he was kidding about the different languages that he heard in our crowd. And I was amazed at how many languages different trustees and staff members spoke.
He waded right into the crowd, as much as a Pope can wade into a crowd here at Mile High Stadium. That doesn't surprise you, though, does it?
No, this is the style of this Pope that has been part of what I think endears him to so many people. He's very genuine with them, and even people who disagree with him on many important issues just want to be near him. There's that sense of this is the embodiment of the Christian tradition in this one man, and he's so gracious that he reminds people of Christ.
The Pope in Jamaica and in Mexico, and even earlier today at Stapleton Airport, said that young people have to steer away from this road of casual sex and drugs and violence. That seems to be the theme of this trip. Do you think that theme will carry on to the Mass Sunday at Cherry Creek?
Oh, I'm sure that it will continue on, and it's part of his understanding of what he calls cultures of death. The whole idea of taking the quick, easy way out to solve a problem today, and then finding that the solution you've chosen has debilitated you for long-term commitment. He'll be hitting that theme again and again.
You're looking at Celebration Plaza on the upper part of your screen. There, again, it seems that the crowd is quite entranced with what is going on, even though the Pope at this point is still sitting right there on the stage.
Father Sheeran, we were struck by the fact that a lot of people couldn't get in here tonight because it is by invitation only, but they walked over rather than watch it on the big screens at Celebration Plaza and lined the fences. And when those helicopters came in today, it was quite a scene of people running across parking lots. Everybody wants to get to, and some of us who are not Catholic have a hard time understanding what the significance of even just getting a glimpse of the Pope is. What is the significance? What does that mean to these young people?
Well, I'm sure it means different things to different people, but I was especially struck yesterday by one of the Regis staff who said to me, you know, I won in the lottery. I'm going to be able to come tomorrow, and it's one of the great days of my life. And I said, tell me more. He said, I'm a Protestant, and I suppose you don't think of me as someone who really is enthusiastic for the Pope, but he embodies the Christian religion. He is my Pope, too. And it seems to me there's an awful lot of that feeling among very many people throughout the Denver area.
One thing that struck me is, and Amy mentioned this too, is President Clinton had this big smile on his face when he was in the presence of the Pope today. Even at Stapleton Airport, the smile went off his face a bit when the Pope was talking about the abortion issue. Mm-hmm. Yet the president had this big smile on his face as they walked to and from every meeting. What do you make of that?
What I found is that the president was extremely relaxed himself. He obviously enjoyed this. You could see the pride in his face when his daughter Chelsea came over to meet the Holy Father. And Mrs. Clinton, similarly, was just very, very delighted, and obviously so, at the opportunity for this meeting. And it just seemed to me to be a family day for the Clintons, and a very religious kind of a day, I might say.
We noticed that he took particular time with Chelsea. What do you think he was saying to her?
Pardon me, with Chelsea or with Mrs.
With
Clinton?
Chelsea.
I have no idea what he was saying to her, but I had a 15-minute conversation with...
Archbishop Keeler of Baltimore got the crowd on their feet again.
Pope John Paul II, Pope John Paul II, we love you.
Body, one body in Christ, and we do not stand alone. We are one body in Christ, and He came that we might have life. For He tells us, when you eat my in Christ, and we do not stand alone. Yes, we are one body in Christ, and He came that we might have life. For He tells us, I am the way, the truth, the life. I am the vine, the sacrifice. I am the way, the truth, the life. He who believes in me will have eternal life. I am the way, the truth, the life.
He speaks to them in English.
Dear young people, I greet you all in the name of Jesus Christ. He is the way, the truth, and the life. Dear young people, the Spirit of God, the Spirit of Jesus has brought us to this 8th World Youth Day. On 8 successive occasions, young people from all parts of the world have heard the call of the Church and have traveled in order to be together. To be together also with their bishops and with the Pope. Fellow travelers, in search of Christ. It is He, Jesus Christ, the true life. It is He who gives hope and purpose to our existence, opens our minds, our hearts to the goodness and beauty of the world around us, to the solidarity and friendship with our fellow human beings, to intimate communion with God Himself, in a love that goes beyond all limits of time and space, to eternal, unassailable happiness. This World Youth Day has brought us to Denver, a stupendous setting in the heart of the United States of America. You know, we are in Denver. We are in Denver. Denver, Colorado. And you know, this humble man here is the Archbishop of Denver. He's our host. With him, I greet each one of you. I greet multitudes which no man could number, from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and tongues. I greet your bishops, your priests, your spiritual guides, your families. I thank you for being here. I thank everyone. Archbishop Stafford of Denver and his fellow workers, Archbishop Kidder, the president of the Bishops' Conference, and all the bishops, the president of the Bishops' Conference, and all the bishops of the United States and also of the other countries and continents of the world, of the whole church. Especially the Bishops' Commission for organization of this World Youth Day. I thank Cardinal Pironio. Of course, I thank Cardinal Pironio and the Pontifical Council for the laity. Viva! Muchas gracias. Quiere. Lo sabemos. I thank the civil authorities, the mayor of, I see here in the middle, I see the mayor of Denver. Yes. Very grateful to you and to your council and to your city. I thank the people of Denver and Colorado. They are our gracious hosts. I thank the volunteers who are making sure that everything runs smoothly. I thank you all for your kindness, your hospitality, and your goodwill. Most of you are members of the Catholic Church, but others are from other Christian churches and communities. And I greet each one with sincere friendship. In spite of divisions among Christians, all those justified by faith through baptism are incorporated into Christ, brothers and sisters in the Lord. Every meeting between young Catholics and other young Christians must be one of discovering together ever more fully the riches of the gospel message of life and love. Después, I greet all of you. Have come from every corner of the United States, from every diocese, Among you, there is one group which I wish to mention with particular esteem, the Native American peoples. Thank you for bringing the richness and color of your special heritage to the World Youth Day. Thank you. The great majority of you are from the United States, from every diocese, from every corner. Many are from other two countries of North America, Canada, y tantos y tantas de México. De México. Some of you are from the Caribbean, Bahamas, Cuba, Haiti, Puerto Rico, República Dominicana, Virgin Islands. Otros vienen de América Central, especialmente Belice, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panamá. Y muchos jóvenes vienen de los países de América del Sur. Argentina, Bolivia, Brasil, brasileiros. Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Paraguay, Perú, Uruguay, Venezuela. Many of you are from countries in Africa. Algeria, Angola e Sao Tomé, Benin, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Cabo Verde Islands, Cameroon, Egypt, Ethiopia, the Gambia, Ghana, Kenya, Madagascar, Malawi, Mali, Mauritius, Mozambique, Nigeria, Rwanda, Senegal, Sierra Leone, South Africa, Sudan, Swaziland, Tanzania, Uganda, Zaire, ecco, Zambia, Zimbabwe. From the countries of Asia, Bangladesh, China, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, Japan, Kazakhstan, Korea, Macau, Malaysia, Myanmar, Austria, Österreich,